Hello students, welcome to another interesting session from Notebook. In this session, we shall be discussing the meaning, types and expression of the value of secularism. We shall see how a state ensures people of all community and religion exist together. Secularism is an idea which promotes freedom and equality within religion as well as other religions. Students, we have read about the Delhi riots in 1984, Godhra riots in 2002. In all these cases, members of a religious community got targeted by other communities. Secularism opposes inter-religious dominance, subtle discrimination against non-Christians in several parts of Europe, and the condition of religious minorities in the neighboring states reflects the importance of secularism. It also rejects the idea of intra-religious dominance. Intra-religious domination is when there are sects within a religion that dominate another section for exploitation of resources or other kind. Example, women being barred from entering temples, or Dalits being treated differently. Secularism seeks to have a society which is devoid of inter or intra-religion dominance, and it also promotes freedom and equality within religion. Students, there is another idea about secularism. It believes that religion should not be a part of the affairs of the state or part of public education. Secularism as a belief rejects religion. We'll talk about this in later part of our session. A secular state is one which does not discriminate between religions and regards them equally. How do we ensure a state that is secular? One of the most important ways to ensure that the head of the state is not a head of any particular religion. We heard about Taliban-controlled state or papal states during medieval times. If a state is led by a religious leader, it is known as a theocratic state. To be secular, a state must not have any formal or legal allegiances to any religion. It must also ensure peace, religious freedom, equality, avoid oppression, discrimination, and exclusion. Let us now understand two concepts of secularism, namely Western model, represented by Americas, and alternate model, best represented by India. In the American model of secularism, the state and religion are mutually exclusive. Each has its own jurisdiction that does not interfere with each other. Both do not support each other, either financially or policy-wise. That is, no directive or idea goes from religion into state and vice versa. Example, if a religious institution forbids a woman from becoming a priest, then the state can do little about it. This common conception for freedom and equality is an individualist way. Liberty is the liberty of individuals. Let's now learn about Kemal Atatürk. Kemal Atatürk of Turkey had a whole different idea of secularism. To him, secularism was not about principled distance from organized religion. Instead, it involved active intervention in and suppression of religion. He was determined to put an end to the Muslim tradition of Khalifa in Turkey in order to modernize and secularize his country. The fez, a traditional cap, was banned. Western clothing was encouraged with adoption of Western or Gregorian calendar as well as new Turkish alphabet in a modified Latin form. Indian secularism focuses both on inter as well as intra-religious domination. The word secularism was added to the preamble by the 42nd Amendment Act. Indian Constitution allows religious minorities a right to build and maintain their own educational institutions. The idea of interreligious equality is crucial to the Indian secularism. It arose as a deep religious diversity, a distinct form, equal focus on intra-religious and religious tolerance. Indian secularism is about religious freedom of individuals, minority communities, and idea of state-supported religious reform. For example, abolition of untouchability under Article 17 of the Constitution. In India, several laws abolishing child marriage, untouchability, and lifting taboo in intercaste marriage of Hinduism were enacted. The secular character of the Indian state is established by virtue of the fact that it is neither theocratic nor has it established any one or multiple religions. When a student asked Pandit Nehru to spell out what secularism meant, he replied, equal protection by the state to all religions. He wanted a secular state to be one that protects all religions but does not favor one at the expense of others, and does not itself adopt any religion as the state religion. Secularism does not mean hostility towards religion. His role was critical in enacting laws, abolishing caste discrimination, dowry and sati, and extending legal rights and social freedom to Indian women. Nehru was always firm and uncompromisingly opposed to communalism of all kinds, particularly of majority community, which posed serious threats to the national unity. Indian secularism was seen as anti-religious, as it threatens the religious identity. Indian secularism is not anti-religion. Rather, it is opposed to institutionalized religious domination. Secularism promotes religious freedom and equality. Hence, it clearly protects religious identity rather than. It is a supported view for many that secularism is linked to Christianity, that it is Western and unsuited to Indian conditions, but it is untrue for secularism. Secular state can have both a principled distance from religion to promote peace between communities and also intervene to protect the rights of specific communities. The mutual exclusion of religion and state, as in the West, can be interpreted differently, but it is not the defining feature for all secular states. Secularism in India is providing all necessary rights and support to minorities as it is in the Constitution. Indian secularism advocates minority right, that is, they must not be harmed and must be protected by constitutional law. To make separate arrangement does not mean any special treatment. It is about same respect and dignity with which all others are being treated. Indian secularism follows the concept of principled distance with non-interference. It is, of course, true that Indian secularism permits state-supported religious reform. It does not automatically mean coercive intervention. The state must act as a facilitator for religious conflicts, exploitation between groups, and disputes. All secular political parties in India utilize vote bank in relation to some social group. View is that secularism encourages the politics of vote banks, because if secular politicians who sought the votes of minorities also manage to give them what they want, then this is a success of the secular project, which aims, after all, to also protect the interest of the minorities. Within a democracy, politicians have a job to pursue their votes or initiate policy with motivation to secure their votes. The history of Indian civilization shows that people with diverging religious beliefs living together is realizable, and most can find a place in a hierarchically arranged order in society. For example, the Ottoman Empire. Rather than being an impossible objective, Indian secularism is about the future of the world. The Indian experimentation of secularism is being watched with keen interest, as with intensification of globalization, Western countries are also becoming culturally and religiously diverse. Students, this brings us to the end of another interesting chapter on political science. Do discuss with your friends of the different criticisms and seek their opinion on the same. See you in our next video. Goodbye.